Hello friends, my name is Mohit Gupta and I welcome you to the channel e-learning. In today's video, we are starting a new chapter called Equilibrium and this is part 1. This chapter is divided into several parts and I'll be updating soon. So without further delay, let's get started. So this is the table of contents and in this video, we are going to discuss introduction, what is equilibrium, and then its types like physical and chemical equilibrium, what are the characteristics of physical equilibrium, reversible and irreversible reactions, equilibrium in chemical processes, dynamic nature of equilibria, and after that, at the end, we'll be talking about the characteristics of chemical equilibria. One thing you need to know is equilibrium is singular and equilibria is plural. Okay, so let's start with the introduction first. So, what is equilibrium? Equilibrium is a state where the properties like temperature, pressure, concentration of a system doesn't change with the time, which means if your system has reached to an equilibrium, the properties, physical properties such as temperature would remain constant, the pressure would remain constant, and most importantly, the concentration of the system won't change. If the concentration of reactant is 1 molar, it will remain as it is, and if the concentration of product is 1 molar, it will also remain as it is. So whatever is the concentration, it doesn't matter what is the concentration, but whatever is the concentration, it would remain constant. So let us understand in details. So first of all, the equilibrium is of two types. One is static and other is dynamic. So first of all, let's understand what is dynamic and what is static equilibrium. So suppose I have taken a block here and I'm providing a force on this right side, and simultaneously I'm also applying a force of the equal magnitude on the opposite sides. So in this case the block won't move and this will consider as static equilibrium because no motion is involved in this reaction because the net force is zero. Hence this kind of process would be considered as static equilibrium. So next we talk about the dynamic equilibrium. What is dynamic equilibrium? Dynamic means that there is a sort of a motion. Some motion is going on. That's why it is not static, it is dynamic. So what kind of motion is there that most of the properties like temperature, pressure and concentration are constant. So to explain that, I have taken a beaker which is attached with a tap from where the water is flowing down, and above it I have taken one more tap which is filling this beaker. So the rate of inflow is equal to the rate of outflow. However, the concentration of water inside the beaker is constant. Therefore, it is considered as dynamic equilibrium because rate of inflow is equal to the rate of outflow, which means motion is going on. Therefore, it would be considered as dynamic equilibrium. So equilibrium can be divided into two parts, physical equilibrium and chemical equilibrium. So in case of physical equilibrium, if the opposing force involved physical changes, so physical changes like pressure, temperature, volume, if these kind of changes are involved, then we consider it as physical equilibrium. However, if the opposing forces involve chemical change, so one compound is converting into the other and the chemical formula and the chemical properties of the compound is getting changed, then it would be considered as chemical equilibrium. So general equilibrium reaction can be written as A plus B is giving us CC and DD. This sign is considered, it is the symbol of equilibrium, that the reaction is going in forward direction as well as in the backward direction. Here A and B are the reactants whereas C and D are the products. The small a, small b, small c and small d are the stoichiometric coefficients of the compound, which means A mole of A and B mole of B are reactant with each other to produce C mole of C and D mole of D products. The time at which the equilibrium achieved can be divided into further three cases. Equilibrium can be achieved at any extent of the reaction, even in the starting, in the very beginning, at the end, or even in the middle of the reaction. So first cases, reaction is about to complete. It is around 90 or 80% complete, and at this point of time, the reaction is not going to complete. It is about to complete, but it is not going to complete 100%. It will stuck at 80 or 90% wherever the equilibrium has been achieved. The second is the reaction is in initial state and the concentration of reactant is extremely high and the concentration of product is almost negligible. The other way, the reaction is in the middle way, that is 30 or 40% or 30 to 60% of reaction is complete. So the concentration of product and the concentration of reaction are not same but comparable. So here we'll be talking about the physical equilibrium. in details. So in physical equilibrium, the physical properties are going to change. What are physical properties? Those properties which can be sensed or which can be visualized. For example, the solid is in equilibrium with the liquid. This thing or this equilibrium is achieved at the melting point of the any compound. For example, I have taken H2O solid, which is ice, and which is getting converted into H2O liquid. At this point of time, the melting is occur and the temperature of the reaction remain constant. So at physical equilibrium, some physical property is going to remain constant. However, the volume change takes place, but the temperature is same. There is another example where liquid is in equilibrium with the gas. So I have taken the water, liquid water, which is converting into the water vapor, and this point of temperature is considered as boiling point. Even at this temperature, the temperature remain constant. The temperature of boiling water cannot exceed 100 degrees Celsius until it is completely converted into the vapors. So here what I am trying to say is that during this physical equilibrium, some important properties remain constant. So here I have given an example where temperature remain constant for both two physical equilibria. Next we come to the general characteristics of physical equilibrium. So some observable properties become constant. As I said, temperature become constant or the concentration become constant. The equilibrium attained is dynamic in nature. So here one important thing is the equilibrium should be dynamic, it can't be static. Dynamic means that rate of forward reaction is equal to the rate of backward reaction. The amount of reactant that is converted into product, the product is going to convert itself back into the reactant. So it should be dynamic in nature, it shouldn't be static. A motion should be involved during this equilibrium. The concentration of reactant and product also become constant. As I said, some physical properties become constant, so concentration is also an example of physical property. After that, the ratio of concentration of product to the concentration of reactant become constant at constant temperature, which is considered as equilibrium constant. So equilibrium constant is basically the ratio of the concentration of product divided by the concentration of reactant. Now, since the concentration of product is constant, and the concentration of reactant is constant, so if we divide two constant, what we'll get? A new constant, and this new constant is considered as temperature constant. An important thing to remember is that the reaction should be at constant temperature, because equilibrium constant is affected by temperature and it is affected severely with temperature. So during an equilibrium, the temperature need to be constant, otherwise equilibrium constant doesn't have any meaning. So as I said, the concentration of product become constant, the concentration of reactant become constant. So if I divide two constant, what I'll get? Another constant, and this constant is known as equilibrium constant. The magnitude of equilibrium constant reflect the extent of the reaction in which it has reached or it has achieved. So whatever the constant value we'll get, we can find out what is the extent of the reaction, whether the reaction is in the very starting state, whether it is in the middle way, or it is about to complete. So if the value of equilibrium constant is high, it means that product is in maximum amount, which means the reaction is about to complete. However, the value of constant is very low, in 10 is to the minus 4 or 10 is to the minus 5, which means the reactant is in very high concentration, and if it is the case, then the reaction is just started. Okay, and if the value is 1, which means the concentration of product is equal to the concentration of reactant. If I'll get 1 here, so I'll multiply it with this, what I'll get, the concentration of product is equal to the concentration of reactant. So it means that the 50% of the reaction has been completed. So now let's talk about the chemical equilibria. So in chemical equilibria, we have two cases. One is for the reversible reactions and other is for the irreversible reaction. And chemical equilibria is only achievable in reversible reactions. For irreversible reaction, chemical equilibria doesn't make any sense. So what are reversible reactions? So reactions that occur in forward as well as in backward direction are considered as reversible reactions. So if A and B is getting converted into the product has to be converted back into the reactants. This type of reaction is considered a reversible reaction, and we use an equilibrium arrow for this kind of reaction. So I have shown an example. A and B is reacting with each other to produce C and D, and C and D are also reacting with each other to produce A and B again. So this kind of arrow we use for reversible reaction. Let's take a few real examples. For example, calcium carbonate is decomposing to produce calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. and the reaction is taking place under a closed vessel. Here again, H2 and I2 are reacting with each other to produce HI. Now, there is one important observation. The color of H2 is colorless and HI is also colorless. However, iodine has a purple color or a violet color. Now, if the reaction is in the starting or in the initial state, the color of the chamber would be purple because we have lot of iodine. However, as the time proceeds, as the reaction proceeds, the color of iodine and the intensity of the color would diminishes. Okay, because ITU is getting converted into the product. So at a point we'll see that the color intensity of this iodine become constant. When it become constant, it means we have reached to the equilibrium state. Now, if the whole chamber become colorless, that means whole of the IO2 is converted into HI, which is actually a colorless compound. But since the color intensity of the color remain constant, that means the HI is further decomposing back into H2 and I2. Next, we come to the irreversible reactions. In irreversible reactions, the reaction occur only in forward direction but not in the reverse direction. So we use single-headed arrow in this case. For example, A and B are reacting to produce C and D, and we have used single-headed arrow. That means the direction of the reaction is only in the right-hand side, which is forward reaction. Some example is AgNO3 is treated with KCl to produce AgCl and NaNO3. So here AgCl is solid, which is a precipitate. So all the precipitation reactions are considered as irreversible reactions because once it become a precipitate, it no longer is soluble in the aqueous media, and if it is not soluble, it won't react. So another example is twice of Mg reacts with oxygen to form twice of MgO. So this is the combustion reaction that occurs, and since this becomes solid, it cannot further decompose back to give MgNO2. So reversible reaction can be converted into irreversible by allowing one of the product to escape out. So if I have this reaction and I remove the carbon dioxide, so one reactant is not available in the reaction, so all the calcium carbonate will decompose to give calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. So in order to convert a reversible reaction into irreversible one, what I have to do, I have to remove one of the product. Now variation of rate of reaction. So in this case, A and B are reacting with each other to produce C and D. So here I have taken a graph. On x-axis I have plotted time, and on y-axis is the rate. So as the concentration of A and B decreases, the rate of forward reaction decreases. And as the concentration of product increases, the rate of backward reaction increases. So both reaches to a point where equilibrium is established and the rate of forward reaction and rate of backward reaction become constant, and they need to be equal at this point of time. Next is dynamic nature of equilibria. So let's take an example of Haber's process. I have taken N2 plus thrice of H2 is giving me twice of NH3. So at equilibrium, H2, N2 and NH3, the concentration of all these species become constant. This is the molar concentration of left hand side and time on the right hand side. As the time passes, the concentration of NH3 increases and at some point of time it becomes constant. Whereas the concentration of N2 and H2 decreases and at some point of time it becomes constant. So no reaction is occurring means reaction is occurring. The rate of forward reaction is equal to the rate of backward reaction. Means H2, N2 and H2 are converting back into the product, but the product is further decomposed into the react. However, if you want the reaction to get complete, you just need to remove the NH3 out of the vessel. If you keep removing this, the product is no longer available to get decomposed. Therefore, N2 and H2 keep on reacting to produce NH3 further and further. Now, when it reaches to the equilibrium, it seems that the reaction is stopped. However, it is not the case. At this point, forward reaction is equal to the backward reaction. Rate of forward reaction is equal to the rate of backward reaction. Hence, the equilibrium is dynamic in nature. It is not static because a constant movement of reactant into product and product into the reactant back is available. Now what we have to do, we have to repeat this reaction with D2. D2 is deuterium and we have replaced hydrogen with deuterium. So once the reaction is taking place, N2 plus thrice of H2 is giving me NH3. Now I'll try to do N2 plus thrice of D2 giving me twice of ND3. So after doing this reaction, what I have observed that the same amount of D2 and ND3 is observed at the equilibrium. For example, if 20 moles of NH3 is produced, so 20 mole of ND3 is also produced. If the H2 was, at equilibrium was present in 10 moles, D2 was also observed in the 10 moles. So same concentration of D2H2 and same concentration of NH3 and ND3 is produced. So this is the first observation. The next observation is, what I have done is I have mixed the two reaction mixtures. So on mixing, what I'll get, it was found the concentration of H2 and NH3 was even same after mixing the two reactions after some times. So however, the hydrogen contained H2, HD and D2. So the total concentration of H2 was not only of H2, it was H2 plus HD and D2. Now you have mixed H2 and D2, how come HD has formed? This is a very suspicious thing. Moreover, ammonia contains, the concentration of NH3 is constant. It was same as 20 mole, but it was NH3, ND3, NHD2 and NH2D. So now this is something a weird observation. Now how to interpret this? So let's take an example. Now, so we have two reactions. I have written N2 is reacted with thrice of H2 to give twice of NH3. That was the case one. And then N2 is also reacting with thrice of D2 in second case, and it was producing twice of ND3. Now if I have mixed the reaction, then what kind of species should be produced or present at equilibrium? So we must have N2, we must have D2 and we must have H2. Now in the product side, we have NH3 and we have ND3. So what's the problem here is we are also getting ND2H, NH2D, and HD. How come? How come we are getting these two or these three products? So what happened is D2 reacts with H2 to form twice of HD. This is not high definition, it is hydrogen and deuterium. Now HD then react with nitrogen, and what it form? It forms N twice of NDH, and it could form D2H or it could form H2T. Now the formation of NH2D or ND2H and as well as the formation of HD, we are getting this NDH2, NH2 and ND. We are getting these three species. Now what this explain? So what it means that the reaction is in equilibrium. Along with that, the reaction is dynamic in nature. Equilibrium is static, then no reaction would occur and we would have only N2, D2 and H2. And on this side we have NH3 and ND3 if it would be static. But since it is dynamic, so they all are reacting with each other, with one another, and they are producing some new species, which suggests that the reaction is dynamic in nature. Now from the production of ND3, NHD2 and N2, NH2D and HD, we can easily conclude that the reaction is in dynamic equilibrium, not in static equilibrium. Next we come to the characteristics of chemical equilibria. So what are the characteristics of chemical equilibria and how can we identify that it is a chemical equilibrium? So at equilibrium, the concentration of all reactants and product become constant. So it's very obvious. The rate of forward reaction is also equal to the rate of backward reaction. The equilibrium can only be attained if no product is allowed to escape. As I have told you, if I have to convert a reversible reaction into irreversible one, then I have to remove one of the product outside the vessel. The next is equilibrium can be attained in both the direction. Obviously, reaction can be forward or as well as backward. It doesn't matter from where you have started. If you have taken product and they are decomposing into the reactants, so equilibrium can be achieved. If you have taken reactant and they are converting into the product, equilibrium can be achieved. So equilibrium can be attained from both the directions. And the most important thing is a catalyst doesn't alter the state of equilibrium. So if you add a catalyst, it won't make any difference. It will just make the rate of reaction faster, but it doesn't mean that it will disturb the equilibrium. For example, if it takes 1 hour to reach the equilibrium, after adding catalyst it will take only 5 or 10 minutes to reach the equilibrium. However, equilibrium increases the rate of the reaction of the forward direction as well as it increases the rate of reaction of the backward direction, which means rate of forward is always equal to the rate of backward direction. So catalyst doesn't alter that rate of reaction. It just make the rate of reaction faster for forward as well as of the backward. So this is it for the today's video. If you have learned something new today, then please like and subscribe. This is Mohit Gupta signing off. Have a great day.